The Iran war has just started up again. Donald Trump has seriously sent U.S. destroyers into the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has hit the ships with missiles. Additionally, Iran has attacked Dubai and other countries with missiles again, and the news is unfolding rapidly, minute by minute. Let's look at this drastic development. Here we go. The ceasefire between Iran and the USA lasted almost 3 weeks, and I'm truly amazed that this truce held for so long at all. Especially considering that Israel had attacked again in Lebanon, thereby clearly breaking the ceasefire. However, the truce is now definitely over, and Iran has shelled U.S. ships with missiles, apparently scoring critical hits. Among others, The Guardian wrote that Iran reports having stopped a U.S. warship in the Strait of Hormuz, and Die Welt even wrote, Iran reports missile attack on U.S. military ship in Strait of Hormuz. And of course, the U.S. media in particular are now seizing on this perfect opportunity and complaining that Iran has now broken the ceasefire and that it must now be annihilated. But my dear viewers, there is something entirely different behind this, something much bigger. And I will get to that in a moment. Because before we look at these missile hits, just 2 or 3 quick sentences about the background. Because Donald Trump announced yesterday evening that he would launch his peace mission today. Bild wrote, Trump orders Project Freedom for the Strait of Hormuz. It is to start today. U.S. President Trump wants to lead ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz out of the strait. In his Truth Social post, he speaks of Project Freedom. It will begin Monday morning Eastern Time. Countries from all over the world, almost all of whom are not involved in the conflicts in the East that are playing out so obviously and violently before everyone's eyes, have asked the United States to help them free their ships stranded in the Strait of Hormuz. To the woe of Iran in the Middle East, the United States, we have told these countries that we will safely lead their ships out of the blocked waterways so that business can continue. He did not elaborate in his post on exactly how the USA intends to proceed, and how Donald Trump intends to proceed, we can see at this very moment. He wants to send his warships as escort protection into the Strait of Hormuz and thereby get all the stranded tankers out of the Persian Gulf. Currently, at least 800 ships from 40 different nations are stuck there, and actually, everyone had warned the U.S. president against sending his warships into the Strait of Hormuz, as they would otherwise be directly attacked by Iranian missiles. But Trump wouldn't listen, and so what had to happen? Happened. Iran hits U.S. Marine ship with missile attack. A U.S. Navy ship was hit by 2 Iranian missiles not far from the Strait of Hormuz after ignoring warnings to stay away from critical waterways, reports the news agency Fars. It was claimed that the boats were forced to retreat without providing information about the damage. According to the report by stock journalist Barawick, citing an unnamed U.S. official, the rules of engagement for U.S. forces in the region have been changed, and they have been authorized to attack immediate threats, including ships crossing the strait and also Iranian missile positions. And that, my dear viewers, is a massive escalation on both sides. Trump wants to open the Strait of Hormuz with full force and has given the order to attack enemy ships and Iranian missile positions. And Iran, of course, immediately responded and, as threatened, opened fire on the U.S. ships. Just 2 days ago, the new Iranian leader, Maba Khamenei, gave his first speech and, among other things, said that he wanted to send the U.S. fleet to the bottom of the sea. And now it seems to be happening. However, it is currently still unclear how extensive the damage to the U.S. ship is. And in addition, Donald Trump is initially trying to cover everything up and accuse Iran of lying. Die Zeit just wrote, USA dismiss report of Iranian attack on U.S. warship. Iran allegedly forced a U.S. fleet near the Strait of Hormuz to turn back with warning shots. According to U.S. information, no ship was hit by missiles. Okay, so Iran says it shelled and hit U.S. ships with missiles, and Donald Trump claims the complete opposite. So which is it? Apparently, one side is lying. And I strongly assume that Donald Trump is lying because the next breaking news just came in. According to the U.S. military, U.S. warships passed through the Strait of Hormuz, movement in the Mullah's naval blockade. According to the U.S. Central Command, CENTCOM, U.S. warships are passing through the Strait of Hormuz. According to the U.S. military, these are 2 guided missile destroyers that entered the Persian Gulf to break the blockade. In addition, 2 merchant ships sailing under the U.S. flag navigated the strait. CENTCOM announced on Monday the American armed forces are actively protecting efforts to restore the passage of merchant ships, the statement says. And here is the official confirmation from U.S. Central Command. So it's true, and therefore it must be clearly stated that if Donald Trump is now really pulling out all the stops and even driving through the Strait of Hormuz with large U.S. guided missile destroyers, then the Iranian report that Iran attacked and hit the U.S. ships with missiles is also guaranteed to be true. I mean, why would Iran lie now when the situation is already escalating? Iran has always and repeatedly warned to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed and that it is under the control of the Revolutionary Guard. They threatened attacks if U.S. ships were to pass through there, and what I find most likely is the fact that the Americans first sent out U.S. patrol boats. The Iranians then fired missiles with warning shots, but Trump apparently didn't care and has now sent his 2 large guided missile destroyers after them, and now the situation has completely escalated. I wouldn't be surprised if in a few minutes we read the next news that Iran has sunk one of the 2 destroyers. Because we have to keep one thing in mind. For Iran, this is about bare survival, and for Iran, the Strait of Hormuz is the only leverage. Iran will by no means give up this leverage without a fight, and that's why Iran also released a new map of the Strait of Hormuz with its new control area today. Revolutionary Guard publishes new Hormuz control map. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Navy published a new map on Monday, showing the areas of the Strait of Hormuz that, according to them, are under Iranian military control, reports the Fars news agency. And here is this picture of the Iranian control zone. And with that, the entire area around this strait should now be the war zone. And I mean, the U.S. destroyers are apparently already in this area, because according to the news agency, they are already in the Arabian Gulf. And the attacks have also begun, but not only attacks on the ships, but also on the Gulf states again. Report: missile warning in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, for the first time in a month. Or this update from Mario. Last hour update since the attack on the U.S. warship. Emirates warning of missile and drone attack. Emirati ship possibly hit in Sharjah. Unconfirmed reports of air defense activity over Tehran. South Korean ship just attacked. And Iran announces closure of the Strait of Hormuz. And currently, the news is really unfolding minute by minute, and I can't even keep up with reading it myself. But one thing is already clear. Donald Trump is sailing his large warships into the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is shelling these ships with missiles, and there are new attacks on the Gulf states. The war has started again, and this time it's a completely new dimension because Donald Trump is now apparently going all in. Whereas before he always kept his warships at a safe distance, fearing missile attacks, but now he's going full throttle with his destroyers and risking the downing of his billion-dollar warships. Why on earth is Donald Trump doing this? I believe Trump deliberately wants to provoke the sinking of a U.S. destroyer here, in order to then use that as a reason for a major war, including a ground offensive. True to the motto, I was on a peace mission to liberate civilian ships. And then Iran attacked us, and now there's revenge. And I mean, it wouldn't be the first time. In World War I, the Americans also used the sinking of the Lusitania as a reason for entering the war, and now it's starting all over again. So, my dear viewers, what do you say about this catastrophe? Is Donald Trump completely losing it now? Yes or no? Feel free to write it in the comments below the video, and also leave a like if you want me to keep you updated. Yeah.